What's up, everybody? It's Jason. Welcome back to the channel. So we're in the middle of our 30 by 30 journey right now. Doing a team every single day for 30 days to go over all 30 teams in major leagues to talk about their offseason, their needs, their outlook, and the predictions. What I think they'll actually do. But with that said, we're going to continue doing that. But I've done this before in other videos. If something significant happens somewhere around baseball, I like to do a video about it, even if it's a minor thing or whatever. A minor video, not of a significant thing. So I'm going to be adding a video. It's just an extra video to the 30 by 30. It has nothing. Well, it has indirectly stuff to do with that 30 by 30, but it's about Theo Epstein, and who was the president of baseball with the Chicago Cubs. Well, he resigned yesterday. And, he did accomplish his goal of bringing a World Series championship to Chicago. He did that. He was unable to build a dynasty, but you know what? Honestly, it's really, really hard to do. Especially now when there's more money coming around. It's a much more difficult task than it was, 50, 60, 80 years ago. But he still did a heck of a job over there, and they're playoff contenders virtually every year. But they've also, signified that they want to cut payroll and kind of move in a different direction, which means to a lot of us that they're going to embark on either a partial or a full rebuild. And they've already said they're open for business, and they're taking calls on every major player, including people who are free agents now. But that includes, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Kendricks, Jose, what's his name, Wilson Contreras, guys like that. Rizzo, even though they re-signed him for 2021. Now that Epstein has stepped down, it's kind of changed the landscape. And what that's going to do is it's going to create opportunities for a lot of other teams. But specifically, I want to talk about opportunities for the New York Yankees, okay? But more specifically, this is my ideal or perfect Yankees offseason, okay? And it has something to do, or the Cubs have a little bit to do with this, because I have something with the Cubs here. But I want to go over my ideal Yankee offseason, okay? 5 moves, okay? Some are obvious, some are not. But it will make the lineup more versatile, make the rotation better, the bullpen better, the fielders better. And I think it'll make the team overall more efficient and set up a little bit better for the long run, too. Is it going to hurt with a couple trades? Yes, but trades are supposed to hurt, especially when you're bringing in good people. But don't mean to transition from the Cubs to the Yankees, but that's the additional news, Cubs, and the second part of the additional news is my perfect Yankee offseason, okay? And then we're going to go right back to the 30 on 30. So, by the way, if it's your first time to the channel, welcome. If you like good baseball content, subscribe right now. Hit the notification. Don't miss out on a lot of good content that's coming. My regulars, you're the best, okay? Number 1, the most obvious. The Yankees should re-sign DJ LeMahieu. He's been the best player on the team for the last 2 years, and I think even though that he's 32, he's the type of athlete that will age gracefully, and won't fall apart. He's not a muscle-bound, slugger, one-dimensional slugger. And again, he's you have the ability to move him to a position that's more forgiving on his body. So, and I will talk about that as well. But he's the most obvious. He might cost a 4 or 5 year deal. But so be it. I think they could probably get him for 4, but we'll see. Another team might blow him away with an offer, but hopefully the Yankees do enough to bring him back. But that's number 1. Number 2, they need to sign Brad Hand. His option was not picked up by the Cleveland Indians. He's a dominant lefty reliever, and he's only 30 years old, and he's been very, very good. And the Yankees are down. Tommy Conley from Tommy John surgery, so he's going to miss the whole entire season. And he also elected free agency, so there's a good chance he will likely not be back. And they had a rough year with Adam Ottavino last year too. So I think he's fallen out of Aaron Boone's kind of circle of trust, bringing in somebody like Brad Hand, the reliable left-handed reliever, to complement Chapman and Britton and all the rest of the guys, the power arms. He'd be a really, really good fit, and I think they can get him probably for a 1 or 2 year deal on a relatively reasonable contract. They can even potentially offload Ottavino in a trade somewhere to a team that might need a reliever. It could be a change of scenery thing. They could eat a little bit of his contract too if they need to, and maybe get a prospect back or package him in a bigger trade. or they can keep him, and hopefully he has a rebound here because he was very good in 2019. So that's number 2. Okay, number 3, my first trade. This is the trade that everybody's talking about, Francisco Lindor. Mine is a little different. Okay, so in this particular scenario, the Yankees obviously would get Francisco Lindor. And they would get Ethan Hankins, who's their number 5 prospect, a right-handed pitcher. They're deeper on the pitching side than the positional side, the Cleveland Indians, at the minor league and the major league level. But 2 of their top positional prospects are shortstops. So they do have a little depth on the back end. But potentially someone can come in and replace Lindor at some point. And I think their number 2 prospect, if I'm not mistaken, is a shortstop. So there is a little bit of a channel there of infielders. So those are the 2 players that the Yankees would get: the pitching prospect and the goal target, Francisco Lindor. Heading to Cleveland would be Luke Voit, okay? And he's the, to me, I love Luke Voit, okay? Many of us do. But he also falls in the category of a kind of Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, who's not Aaron Hicks, excuse me, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. There's a little bit of a one-dimensional type of hitter. Where it's a lot of strikeouts and a lot of home runs. Aaron Judge is the least of the 3, but we need to be a little bit less reliant on the long ball, okay? And if we can have the opportunity to move Luke Voit in a trade where his trade value is at an all-time high, and he has 3 years of control left at a low cost, which is perfect for the Cleveland Indians, who made it clear that they want to cut payroll, then he has to be part of a trade. I do not want to include Clint Frazier in the trade. Okay, we got them from Cleveland. We got him from Cleveland. I don't want to send him back to Cleveland, particularly now where his value is high, which is why I would like to swap him out with Aaron Hicks. Okay, I like Hicks too, but he's also, I personally, because I have him being replaced in another trade in this video, a perfect candidate for the Cleveland Indians as well. He's in outfield. He's also locked up under long-term contract for the next, I think, 6 years. Or 5 years, but at $10 million per season, there is not an outfield player who's going to be a free agent in the next couple of years that's as good as Hicks and as versatile. Remember, he's a switch hitter, just like Lindor. Somebody that good that's going to cost that little. He's on a very team-friendly contract. So this is an opportunity to get Voit and Hicks and still cost less than Lindor. Okay? So they're saving money and getting 2 guys who can fill 2 valuable spots. Okay, and then additionally, the Yankees would send Luis Gil, who's their number 5 prospect, a right-handed pitcher, and I'm looking at my baseball book, and Alex Vizcaino, who's their number 8 prospect, another right-handed pitcher. So Cleveland would get 2 pitching prospects, power arms, plus they would get the answer at first base / DH in Voit. He can replace Carlos Santana, or he can play first. They can re-sign Santana, and they can alternate with each other, first base and DH. They could do that too. And they're getting their starting center fielder for the next 5 or 6 years, and still saving money. They're adding by subtracting. Okay, this is, I think, a good trade for both teams. I really do. And if we can get Lindor without having to give up like a Garcia or a Clint Frazier, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. They might have to add it. They might have to goose it up a little bit more. We'll see. But this to me is a good trade for both sides. It really, really is. So that's the number 3. Number 4, they need another innings eater pitcher, okay, to slot in behind Garrett Cole. He's obviously a horse. He's our ace, unquestioned. But they need somebody else who can go throw 6, 7 innings, 25 or 35 or 30 times a year. Give them 170, 180 innings, maybe up to 200 innings, and stay healthy, which is why I like Julio Teheran. He played with Atlanta. If you look at his stats, for 8 years he averaged between 175 and 220 innings. Stayed healthy. Last year was an anomaly because of the shortened season and the fact that everybody, he signed with the Angels for a 1-year deal last year. But he's only 29 years old. And I think he would be a good person to slot in if the Yankees got him on a 2-year deal. They might require 3 years, but I think they can get him on a 2-year deal. He's a guy that can be an innings eater and take the load off of a bullpen, because I do feel, even with a dominant bullpen, they get tired too. And our starters did not do a good, aside from Cole, did not do a good job of giving the team length. Okay? This is a guy who can give the team length and take the load off the bullpen. He gives more length than Tanaka would. As much as I like Tanaka, he gives more length than Happ would, and more length and consistency than Paxton would. So I would bring him in. Okay? And again, it would be a cost-effective option. Okay? That's number 4. Okay, so now we've added Lindor at shortstop. Pitching prospect, we've added a starting pitcher, and we've re-signed DJ, and we've added a reliever in Brad Hand. Number 5. This is another. This is where the Cubs come in. Okay. The key to this piece, to this trade, would, in my opinion, would be Ian Happ, who's one of the Cubs' young outfielders. Okay, he's only 26 or 27 years old. He got a bunch of years of control left, and arbitration years and stuff like that. He would be the replacement to Aaron Hicks for center field. So now you'd have Frazier in left. You'd have him, Happ in center, Judge in right. Now you have a younger, more athletic, versatile outfield. How does the trade look? In this scenario, the Yankees would get Ian Happ. Okay, they would also absorb some of the Cubs' contracts. Okay, they would get Wilson Contreras. They're one of their catchers. They have a top catching prospect too, and they have another guy catching there. So this is an opportunity for them to get Wilson Contreras, who's right around Gary Sanchez's age, not as dominant, potentially dominant with the bat, but he's much better defensive catcher. Okay, and at this point we need that. He's also really good at handling a pitching staff. Get Wilson Contreras. He makes $6 million a year. And then we take on one onerous contract. We take on Craig Kimbrell. He's on a 1-year deal. Okay, he's got 1 year left, I should say, on his contract at $16 million. Yes, it's a lot, but we would be getting our starting center fielder for the next decade, or most of a decade. Okay, and that's where it would hurt. We'd have to take on this onerous contract. But again, it's only for 2021 and not 2022. Okay, so we would get Ian Happ, Wilson Contreras, who can then allow the Yankees an opportunity to move on from Gary Sanchez if they want and platoon him with Kyle Higashioka or have him start most of the games, whatever. And Craig Kimbrell, who can replace Adam Ottavino or Tommy Conley in the bullpen. He's still a power arm, but maybe a change of scenery and not having to be the hands-down closer might help him. He'd be in a more dominant mix of relievers there. He'd be part of that 4 or 5-headed monster. In return, what did the Chicago Cubs get? The Chicago Cubs would get Clark Schmidt. Their farm system is depleted, so they need prospects. Clark Schmidt's the Yankees' #2 prospect. He's a pitcher. He's already seen time in the majors. Be a perfect fit for them. To me, he's like a Kerry Woodish, big, power right-handed arm. He reminds me of Kerry Wood. Okay. They would also get Oswald Peraza, who's their #4 prospect, a shortstop, in the event that they move on from Javi Baez. They have some protection behind him and some depth behind him, okay? He's a free agent after next year, too. He's part of that shortstop bonanza. There's no guarantee he's going to come back, especially with the Cubs wanting to lower payroll. And he's going to cost a lot of money, okay? So now they get a pitching prospect and a shortstop prospect. They will also get Miguel Andujar. He'll have a place there more than he would on the Yankees. That's just a fact. I like him, but this gives him an opportunity to go there. And he's got 3 more years of control, too, and play, infield, outfield. He can play third base if they trade Chris Bryant. He can play first base if they move Rizzo. He can play the outfield if they move Happ. He gives him a lot of versatility. And, again, he's a contact hitter. And, again, he'll get more opportunities there to let his bat shine than he would in New York. So it's a good fit. Okay, now they have 3 cost-effective players, okay, 2 of which have already seen the majors. And the last part of the package would be Luis Medina, who's their #10 prospect, a starting pitcher. So we'd be giving the Cubs 2 top 10 prospects who are pitchers, okay? One of whom has seen the majors. We'd be giving them Miguel Andujar and the shortstop prospect. So 2 offensive players, two pitchers, okay? That's a nice, healthy package in return for Ian Happ, okay? And then we'd be taking Wilson Contreras and Craig Kimbrell off their hands. So we'd be saving them $22 million in 2021, okay, and then a little bit more in 2022. We'd be helping them offset contracts. And this is usually what happens, in a lot of scenarios where if you want a player, especially a young, controllable player, you got to take on a contract like that. And if I were the Yankees, I would be all over this, in my opinion, okay? But now the Yankees have made 2 trades. They've re-signed a couple players, and actually they've re-signed DJ. They brought in 2 relievers in Brad Hand and Kimbrell to boost that bullpen. Okay, they brought in Francisco Lindor for shortstop, which allows them to move DJ over to first base and Gleyber Torres to second, where his more natural position is, and keeping Gio at third. Now we have a younger, more versatile, more athletic, better base running infield. Okay, and we didn't lose a switch hitter. Okay, we replaced Hicks with Lindor, both are switch hitters, okay? But the bottom line is we got younger and more athletic and we have more base stealing ability too, which is something the Yankees do not do enough of, Okay, and they also added a starting pitcher, Julio Teheran. Would I like for them to trade for a pitcher too? Yes, but instead of using prospects like this to get a Joe Musgrove or somebody like that, they use prospects to get a Lindor and an Ian Happ. That to me is a better route, is a smarter move for the Yankees. Okay, but this is my GM hat. Okay, put your GM hat. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This right here, I think would be a really, really good offseason. It would be a perfect offseason. That's why I'm calling it that for the Yankees. So, sorry to tie in the Cubs, but I felt it was important that you knew if you didn't know. That's a significant move, and again, it can have ripple effects all across baseball. But this is how, to me, it ties in with the Yankees, because it kind of ties in with the Yankees and the Indians and the Cubs, making it kind of a three-headed monster. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification next to it. I'm going to be going right back to the 30 on 30. So I hope you enjoyed this, and be on the lookout. It's coming. Talk to you then.